Hi, I'm Joy Vaughan. I've been teaching adults for many years, and just recently I've been teaching history with ACL. I mainly work at the Whittam site. This month, because it's the 200th anniversary of her birth, we've put together a tribute to Florence Nightingale which celebrates her life. And we felt that we also need to celebrate another famous British nurse at the time, Mary Seacole. She was involved in caring for soldiers in the Crimean War, but her path was different to Florence Nightingale's. Unfortunately, Mary Seacole was largely forgotten for 100 years, which could have been because she was a woman of colour, or because her class in British society was just not high enough for recognition. The controversy, while she was alive, was where some army doctors had seen her as a cunning and resourceful quack, and a white American had suggested that she should bleach her skin in order to make her acceptable in any company, as she deserved to be. This short biography into the history of Mary Seacole shows her life, but also how history happens, and if it isn't reported, it's forgotten. It shows that it's the people who report the history. They are the ones who decide what is important and what is not. So, Mary Seacole, 1805 to 1881. Mary Seacole was born in Jamaica as Mary Jane Grant. Her parents were a Scottish soldier and a Jamaican healer. She considered herself to be Creole. She married Edwin Seacole in 1836 and was widowed in 1844. She learnt her nursing skills from her mother, who ran a boarding house for invalid soldiers. Her mother was also a herbalist and a doctress. Mary Seacole also learnt traditional and European medical ideas during her extensive travels around the world. In 1854, she offered her assistance in the field hospital at the Crimean War battleground, along with Florence Nightingale. But she was turned away, despite holding excellent references. She had applied to and been turned down from the War Office, the Army Medical Department, the Quartermaster General's Department, the Secretary for War, Florence Nightingale's own nursing team. She believed that she was turned away due to the colour of her skin. However, she was determined to go, so she made her own way, which in the 19th century for a black woman was very difficult. But even so, she managed to fund herself. She travelled to the Crimea with her business partner, Mr. Day, and set up a British hotel for the convalescence and care of British soldiers who had been affected by the war. She called this a mess table and a comfortable quarters for sick and convalescent officers. The hotel also had a store selling a variety of useful goods that Mr. Day managed. Mary Seacole started to treat the wounded soldiers as soon as she arrived in Balaclava, when she saw them on the wharf waiting to be shipped home. She would also visit the soldiers in hospital to deliver special rations for the sick, as well as soothe and nurse them. Throughout her time in the Crimea, she nursed soldiers, sometimes on the battlefield and sometimes under enemy fire. She became affectionately known as Mother Seacole. Her relationship with Florence Nightingale was fine, and she even stayed with her while she continued on her way to the war. Florence Nightingale also made sure that she saw Mary Seacole before she returned to England when the Crimean War had ended. When the war ended, Mary Seacole was bankrupt. She returned to England, where a fund was set up to raise money for her. A letter in the Times was demanding, while the benevolent deeds of Florence Nightingale are being handed down to prosperity, are the humbler actions of Mrs. Seacole to be entirely forgotten? In July 1857, a benefit festival was organised to raise money for Mary Seacole. It attracted thousands of people, and she was applauded by adoring soldiers. Mary Seacole was given the reception that Florence Nightingale would have had she not avoided it. Mary Seacole died on the 14th of May 1881 and is buried in Kensal Green, London. She had lived her final years in obscurity, although not in poverty, and her will included a diamond ring, pearls and a sum of £2,500. Mary Seacole was lost from common history for 100 years, even though the newspaper reporter Sir William Howard Russell in 1857 had written, "I trust that England will not forget one who nursed her sick, who sought out her wounded to aid succour to them, and who performed the last offices for some of her illustrious dead." So, in recent times, in 1973, her grave in Kensal Green was reconsecrated. In 1991, she was posthumously awarded the Jamaican Order of Merit. In 2004, she was voted the greatest Black Briton. In 2007, Mary Seacole was added to the national curriculum. In 2013, a Mary Seacole figure was included in the Portrait Bench series along the walking and cycling route in Paddington Green, London. And in 2016, her statue was unveiled in the grounds of St Thomas's Hospital and is inscribed, "Mary Seacole's pioneering work saved lives, and people of all backgrounds can draw inspiration from the fact that her achievements have finally been recognised."